This news update is brought to you by
This is the 7 a.m. Barbados Today update for Monday, July the 7th, 2014. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Good morning. Topping our news at this hour, the private sector is warning of possible job cuts in the tourism sector if industry leaders are forced to pay the controversial Municipal Solid Waste Tax. Head of the Private Sector Association of Barbados, Alex McDonald, tells Barbados Today the tax, which is being levied on the site value of properties that generate waste, would push those in the productive arena, especially tourism, to choose between owing government and retaining jobs.
You are compelled to pay a tax that you find that you have to make choices between paying a tax and keeping a job that the Bajan sense of fair play would say, I'd prefer not to owe government anything, and a job may have to go.
McDonald is lamenting that some hotels are now being saddled with as much as $200,000 in new taxes at a time when they should be upgrading their properties to meet the coming winter season. He also cautioned that the imposition of the municipal tax would increase the cost of doing business in the commercial sector, with tenants having to pay more rent.
How it plays out in the residential space, we're uncertain, because obviously people will have leases and so on. But in the commercial space, we are seeing that there is a chance that we're going to see the cost of doing business going up as people have to pay more, or people are going to be offered businesses at an increased cost.
The private sector is proposing a review of the municipal tax, arguing that additional duties on an already overtaxed country could be counterproductive. Meantime, outspoken political scientist Dr. Tennyson Joseph says government may fail to raise its projected $30 million from the tax because there are people who simply cannot afford to pay.
The many people I know who will simply not pay the tax because they cannot. And I think in that way too, the government itself will not meet its objective of collecting the tax, because, as I said, they're going to have this projection, but when they do their revenue count perhaps before the next budget, then they will see that it didn't meet the expectation. So they will have no choice but to come back and review it.
In other news now, Minister of Industry and Commerce Donville Inniss says he has no regrets about his recent description of regional prime ministers as being poor leaders. The controversial minister had criticized the leaders for not coming to the rescue of Barbados in its rum dispute with the U.S. over subsidies.
What's there to regret? There are those who may have felt I was most undiplomatic. There is a simple reality I face every day in this country. You know, and my comments relate to that. Now I'll also make another quick point related to that. That goes beyond that CARICOM Prime Minister thing, because I leave it to the people in the region to judge what came out in the meeting in Antigua this week. They will judge for themselves when their leaders reported the countries and what transpired. I am finished with that. Prime ministers can say and think whatever they wish to about me. I finish with that issue for now.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Hi, I'm Red Plastic Bag. Anyone who knows me knows I don't like cold. Sunshine reigns in my country. I love it.
Get your sun power.
On the regional front, as Jamaica struggles with a water and drought crisis, the parched conditions have resulted in the destruction of hundreds of acres of farmland by fire. Minister of Water Robert Pickersville is therefore warning of court action against those who use the precious commodity other than for essential purposes.
Projections are really dire. I mean, whether it is from the World Meteorological Services or from our local meteorological office. Last May was the hottest month recorded. And they are predicting that this year, since 1880, it will be the hottest year.
And finally, on the international scene, American officials have ordered some overseas airports with direct flights to the U.S. to intensify screening of electronic devices. Transport officials said in a statement that passengers could be asked to switch on devices and equipment that does not power up will not be allowed on board. The U.S. announced new security measures last week, apparently in response to a terror threat, but gave no details. That's been the 7 a.m. Barbados Today update. Join us again at noon, but until then, log on to www.barbadostoday.bb, subscribe to our e-paper and like us on Facebook to get more news and sports. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Have a blessed day.
This news update is brought to you by